Dear friend, welcome back to this journey through Moses, the servant of God. Today we come to chapter 13, titled Marah and Elim. It is a story of hardship and refreshment, of bitterness and grace. And like so many parts of the Israelites' journey, it speaks to our lives today. The Apostle Paul once wrote in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11, "All these things happened unto them for ensamples," which means examples or lessons. God wrote their story to help us understand our own. So let's walk with Moses and the people of Israel into the wild places, where God teaches his people to trust. The Israelites had just crossed the Red Sea. They had seen God part the waters with his power. They had watched Pharaoh's army drown. They had sung songs of triumph. But now they stepped onto the shores of the Sinai Peninsula, a place so rugged and untamed. It has been called one of the most majestic and desolate places on earth. The land rose in waves of purple granite and red sandstone, with narrow valleys and wind-carved cliffs, leading ever upward toward Mount Sinai. Behind them, the Red Sea shimmered. Ahead, only desert. There were no lush valleys here, no Nile River flowing with abundance, no Egyptian palaces, only silence, stone, and sky. And yet the cloud of God moved before them, guiding them deeper into the wilderness. So they followed. Exodus chapter 15, verse 22 says, "So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur." Moses knew the desert well. He had spent 40 years in Midian as a shepherd. He understood that there were no resources here to sustain a nation, yet he led them south into the heart of the wilderness. Why? Because that is where the cloud moved. Because that is where God was leading. It was an act of deep and courageous faith. Sometimes, God does not take us on the shortest or easiest path. He leads us instead into barren places, not to harm us, but to teach us, to grow us, to draw us close. In the wilderness, we are stripped of our illusions. We are forced to see the eternal instead of the temporary. We hear God more clearly, because everything else is silent. And there, we learn to walk by faith, to trust him for daily bread, to follow when we cannot see the end, to discover the strength born from hardship. These are the children of the wilderness: patience, freedom, trust, and a pilgrim spirit. They cannot be grown in luxury, only in the rare air of trial. But this journey quickly turned into a test. Exodus chapter 15, verse 22 continues, "They went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water." Can you imagine the growing panic? Day 1, blistering sun, endless sand, no shade, no streams, just heat. Day 2, no relief, water skins running dry, silent fears rising in every heart. Day 3, hope flickered. Someone spotted palm trees in the distance. Excitement spread. There must be water. The people quickened their pace. Their joy rose. But when they arrived and tasted the water, they found it was bitter, undrinkable. This was too much. They had held on when there was nothing to drink. But to be brought this close, only to be let down, that broke their spirits. They cried out to Moses, "What shall we drink?" Exodus chapter 15, verse 24 says, "And the people murmured against Moses." Their songs of praise turned to grumbling, their hope to anger. How familiar this feels. Have you ever walked through your own Marah? You begin with high hopes. You pray, you obey. You follow the path God sets before you. And just when it seems like the breakthrough is near, disappointment. The job falls through. The diagnosis comes back. The friendship breaks. The prayer seems unanswered. That moment, that bitterness feels worse than emptiness, because you thought this was the answer. You thought refreshment had finally come, but instead you find tears. This is Marah, and every follower of God must pass through it. It is not punishment, it is a test. Will we still trust him, even when the water tastes bitter? And what did Moses do? Exodus chapter 15, verse 25 says, "He cried unto the Lord." He did not lash out at the people. He did not complain or quit. He turned straight to God, and the Lord showed him a tree. When Moses cast it into the water became sweet. There is always a tree at Marah, always a remedy near the pain, always grace near the grief. But we must cry out. We must look to God, not to ourselves. And when we do, he opens our eyes. Often, the answer was already there. We just could not see it through our sorrow. That tree, what does it represent? Surely it points us to the cross of Jesus, where bitterness is made sweet, where wounds are healed, where disappointment is transformed. At the cross, we learn to say, "Not my will, but yours." And in that surrender, Marah becomes a place of grace. After Marah, God gave his people a promise. He said, "I am the Lord who heals you." That promise came not in a temple, but in a dusty, bitter place, because that is God's way. He does not wait for perfection to show his love. He meets us in brokenness. He speaks promises in pain, and then they came to Elim. Exodus chapter 15 verse 27 says, "And they came to Elim, where were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters." Elim, a place of rest. 12 wells, 70 palm trees, shade, water, peace. Dear friend, God never leaves us at Marah. He leads us forward, to Elim, to moments of comfort, to seasons of rest, to quiet waters and cool shade. You may feel stuck in the desert today. You may be standing beside bitter waters, but Elim is ahead. Hold on. Your rest is coming. Your peace is near. The desert will not last forever. And so we close this chapter with a beautiful truth. Our God is faithful in both Marah and Elim. He teaches us in trial. He strengthens us in thirst. He surprises us with joy. He is the God who parts seas, who heals bitterness, and who leads us beside still waters. So keep walking. Keep trusting. Your Elim is near. Thank you for joining us today for Chapter 13, Marah and Elim. Subscribe to our channel. We're walking daily through the spiritual journey of Moses and beyond. We'll see you in Chapter 14.